Yeah, man, Jamaica. This is Damien Crawford. And I'm making this video just to add my own opinion on the recent controversy about Andrew Holness' opinion and, by extension, his utterances about Michael Manley's prime ministerial period. Now, I don't personally understand why so many people are angry at Andrew Holness' opinion and utterance, because while, in my opinion, he lied, he really just represented the basic difference between the Jamaica Labour Party and the People's National Party. The basic difference between the Jamaica Labour Party and the People's National Party is that the People's National Party continues to fight the system and the Jamaica Labour Party continues to embrace the system. And so, therefore, it is unlikely that the efforts to change the system will be celebrated by a member, and in this case, leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, whose entire premise is founded upon the embracing of the system. To better explain my opinion, I think it is important that I explain what is the system. The system is a set of interconnected variables that work together to maintain the status quo. So we're going to go back through it. It's a set, which means more than one, of interconnected variables. That means more than one, again, plural variables that work together to maintain the status quo. So therefore, any effort to change the system is going to take a consistent attack on all the variables that contribute to maintaining the status quo. Now, the system isn't inherently bad. So therefore, one have to analyze if you want to fight the system, if it is bad, or if you want to embrace the system, if it is good. So if the status quo, the normal outcome of people's reality, that may I call a status quo, is good, then one should embrace the system. If the status quo, meaning the normal outcome of people's activity, is bad, then you have to fight the system. Now, I don't know, but the PMP believes that the status quo is bad, and Michael Manley himself perceived that to be of great interest and great hurt to him, that the natural outcome of people's existence was negative. Now, in that time, and even now, you found many Jamaicans were in poverty. That's bad. Crime was on the increase. That's bad. Housing was not accessible to most people. That's bad. Prejudice was great in our society. That's bad. Capital was taking advantage of labor. That's bad. And so therefore, considering that the status quo was bad, then Michael Manley, with the People's National Party, embraced an effort to change the status quo, which means an effort to fight the system, while the JP at the time continued in an effort to support and embrace the system. So therefore, when Michael Manley did his own analysis, he suggested that for the system to change, there was a need for a change of the people's minds. So from those times, Michael Manley recognized that the people's circumstance could not be changed without the people's minds be changed. At this time, I think it's important that we even further explain the system. And I give you some examples of the system. Because the status quo means that if the granny poor, the granddaughter almost automatically poor. And if the grandfather rich, the grandson almost automatically rich. And you gotta have a few people who slip through the cracks, and we use them as examples to say the other people are worthless. But the reality is that just like how you see Black Lives Matters now, I said that they are systematic racism. In Jamaica, there was systematic classism and systematic racism. Not was, there is systematic racism and systematic classism. So may I give you some examples of the system. Now, the same grandmother I'm tell you about, she was born, she eat for her belly full. She don't eat for nutrients. So you go find, as I say all the time, the Jamaicans them like dumpling and butter that have no nutrient, but that to make your belly feel full. We like food with gravy, curry chicken, brown stew chicken, because that stretch the food. So therefore, if a man comes and fry chicken alone, or not, if it not chop up, it can't stretch as far as when it chop up and curry and the gravy then make it stretch even further. I always make a joke say that is why we like tin mackerel more than sardine, because sardine have no gravy and mackerel have gravy. So the economic circumstance of this grandmother at birth caused for her to eat food that not have no nutrients and to develop habits of eating that really not have no nutrients. So I can give my own example as a youth growing up. I still love the things that I started out eating. Like, even if we can afford more than tin mackerel, I still love tin mackerel. Even if we can afford more than corned beef, I still love corned beef. So that habit of eating now caused for her to love gravy, caused for her to love whole heap of cheap carbohydrates like whole heap of rice, whole heap of flour, caused for her to eat mostly oily things like chicken back. And by extension, by the time she had 35, she gonna have what you call non-communicable disease. She have diabetes, she have high blood pressure and stuff like that. That now cause for her now to have to be investing money into healthcare and divert that money, because remember she not have no whole heap of resources, divert money that could have gone to mortgage to buy a house, or divert money that could have gone to education for her child, or divert money we could have go to a business. So that diversion of money started from the habits created from she born I eat dumpling and butter and curry chicken back. Started from there because she not eat for the nutrients. So what happened now is that her daughter not get the experience, not get the exposure, not get the extra class, not get the books, not get the calculator, and by extension not get no subject. Her daughter now come in and start to work as a helper for the same person where she was a helper for. The system is where we have some schools that are traditional schools and them have 85-90% chance of getting 5 subjects. And then we have some schools which are non-traditional schools and some of them have a 2%, 1% chance of getting 5 subjects. So from the age of 12, within our system, we give up on a certain set of children and call them dunce. Now the fact is, that these children have given enough evidence that they are not dunce. The simple fact that them can walk and or talk. If a person can walk, them never born a walk, which means them learn to walk. If a person can talk, them never born a talk, which means them learn to talk. Yet somehow a person bright at 9 months become dunce at 19. That is not the person. That's a set of variables working together to maintain the status quo. So a youth might have got to Haile Selassie and him is a great high jumper in talent. But Haile Selassie can't afford a high jump bag and him definitely can't afford a high jump coach. That youth therefore don't make it to the Olympics. A youth equally or less talented go to KC who have how much coach, physiotherapists, 100 high jump bag, meal program, everything, and he make it to the Olympics. So therefore, that is a systematic negative that exists. The system is where our mind tells us that every Christmas the poor should buy something and the rich say they're going to sell something. So every December we want paint, we want curtain, we want party ticket, we want clothes, we want dress up, and every January we broke. But you check it out. You check the Indians, you check the Chinese, you check the man them where own things, the people who are wealthy. Every Christmas them I say, yo, where them people want to buy, make us sell it. Every Christmas price mart say, yo, we need to bake more cake. Every Christmas KFC I say, yo, we need to have a special. Coach I say, yeah man, we are wait upon them. Every Christmas the people them downtown I say, yeah man, them are come. The Berger Paint I say, yeah man, we are gonna sell some more things. The rich say what them are gonna sell December and the poor say what them are gonna buy. Causing the poor to continuously be poor in January and the rich to be even richer. So there's a set of variables, as may I explain to you, that even cause for when you go to hospital, you don't have insurance and so therefore you can't get a surgery. That cause for you not to be able to do a yearly checkup and so until you get blind, you don't know so you have diabetes, until you lose a foot. You don't know, say you have diabetes, because the system is that variable working together for just maintain a status quo. If you would find out, say you have diabetes before you're blind, then your quality of life would have longer and your earning potential would have longer. The last example I give you about the system is where the inner city communities don't recognize that no uptown community fight. Anywhere there's high violence, there's high poverty. Because risk reduce price, including the individual's price. So you have some youth now when them apply for your work, them address can't go on the application because nobody will take them. That is not a past thing, that's a current thing. So Michael Manley now meditate on this thing and say, yo, if we are going to change Jamaica, we have to start to change the system, because the only way Jamaica can change is if the status quo change. So he now come and say, yo, all right, when I look at Jamaica's reality, I see say you have more people looking at work than people providing the jobs. And you used to have people who go to the front of the farm or go to the front of the factory, line up and try to underbid the man who get the job. So a man say, yo, me take 5,000 now. The next man beside him say, no man, me will take 4. And the next man say 3. And therefore, because a man think half a bread is better than no bread at all, he used to just work for nothing. Michael Manley come and say, okay, the only way we can take care of the vagaries of demand and supply, which means that the demand for labor was outpaced by the supply of labor, therefore driving down the price of labor. He said we had to put a rule in place that the price of labor, called a wage, cannot go lower than X. That's how minimum wage come in. So therefore, enough of who work for minimum wage now, 7.5 or 7.8 or whatever minimum wage is now. Ask yourself, if this wasn't in place, and a man offer you 2,000 to do the same work, you'd have possibly take it because you have no other option, no other work. Michael Manley calls for us to be able to say no lower than X is supposed to be the wage. Whether it is too low now or not, before Michael, there was no such limit. And I have seen with my own eyes, on some of these, especially some of the Chinese work, where 10 men work and 40 men sit down, waiting on the demise of one of the 10. Waiting for the Chinese to say, no gooder, or no worker, no gooder, go home. And one of them jump in. So it would have been the same without Michael Manley. Michael Manley recognized, because at the time, it was based upon physical work. Work was based upon strength more than brain, especially for black people. So, I tell you, say, in the 70s, if you're doing research, you know that bank work, bank teller couldn't be no black people. Storefront worker could have been no black people. Black people in the 70s was going to do muscle work. And by extension, women were at disadvantage, because just by natural blessing, the average man stronger than the average woman. And so them used to seek now to actually now pay women less for the same hours of work, because she not have equal strength. Context may go in somewhere where they're going, you know. And Michael Manley say, yo, you can't have half the society being disadvantaged by their biological realities. And so by extension, Michael Manley said equal pay for women. Now meditate on these people. It was just the last election, not Trump. Trump versus Hillary Clinton. In the big United States, that equal pay for women was being discussed as a law. Michael Manley give Jamaica equal pay for women. From the 70s, people. We'll come back again. Michael Manley observed the system and recognized that if more of our society was women family dependent, because from slavery they have trained men to feel that they have no duty to the unit of family, See? So therefore most of our families were single parent families provided for by women. So if you didn't protect women, you couldn't protect family, you couldn't change the status quo. The children outcome couldn't be improved. And so the man go further than equal pay for women and say, yo, okay, when a woman is pregnant, she should, in the last stages of her pregnancy, receive maternity leave. Before that, when your belly starts show, them send you home. Because no employer wants to pay two workers to do one work. And when a lady is on maternity leave, she has to be paid, and her duty is carried out by somebody else who have to be paid. So employers never wanted to do that work, that carry out that act of paying two people. And so the employers were saying, yo, you hear me? If you're pregnant, go home. Michael Manley said that can't work. They're right. They're right. The man go further now and say, yo, when I look at what is happening, the people's willingness to depend on other people was the reason for them to always not fight for their own rights. Because dependence means the person you depend on must like you. I saw the man come with self-reliance. Because, watch me, in slavery, the slaves could have been paid equal to the shelter they got, which was nothing, the food they got, which was minimal, and the clothing that they got, which was basic. But you could have given them enough money to buy that exact thing. You could have given them enough money to rent equal kind of shack houses, to buy equal time of nothing food, and to purchase equal time of limited clothing. However, the slave owner never wanted to give them that independence of purchase, because if the slave depend upon him for food, depend upon him for clothes, depend upon him for housing, he's less likely to run away. That's why you see even Andrew holness them now, when a COVID are going to look at 10 grand for depend upon them. Nobody's saying we are going to get insurance, unemployment insurance. Them are going to free 10 grand to maintain dependence, because when you depend upon me, you need for me to like you. Otherwise you don't get what you depend on me for. Michael Manley, from as far back as the 70s, the man said, we must be independent in ourselves. Now, I beg on people, I forgot to read a local book for me, please, called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a book that changed my life. Big up Taylor Reynolds, who did lend me that book from UA. And the book says, the ultimate state of human existence is interdependence, which means you can depend upon me and I can depend on you. That means that if you can depend on me, I must first be independent so that you can depend on me. And if I am going to depend on you, you must also be independent so that I can depend on you. So the book says you start from dependence and you graduate to independence so that you can achieve interdependence. One of Jamaica's biggest problem is that we have so much people dependent and so few people independent that there is no interdependence. We have a set of people who always a borrow but never can lend. We have a set of people who always a beg but never can give. And so therefore Michael from them time meditate and say, if we are going to have a country that is going to be great to achieve synergy, we must create independent people. And by creating that independent people, then now them are going to be able to now depend on each other. So just like how if you have a wife at work and a husband at work, the two can go get NHT. But if you have a wife at work and a husband not work, only one can get NHT. Now you can say how different your house going to be if only one can get NHT. You see where I come from? So the man said, all right, we are going to now seek to change the system by making our people independent. That's how the man come with education, free education. Now, Michael Manley was saying that equal opportunity was the outcome that he wanted. But equal opportunity or equal access then in education, equal access had to start with access. If you had no access, you couldn't have equal access. So therefore, the free education was to now make those who could not afford education get access. You go ask some people where are 70 now and 60 now. Said some of them couldn't go to school. You'd have to choose one child for school and the rest stay home. That's the Jamaica that the man tried to change. So when we see some of them schools are still popped down, it's because the reality is that we have not graduated from just seeking access to now seeking equal access, because the equal speak to quality access. So we stuck at access because we not get for reach quality access yet. So Michael I say, yo, listen, me I gonna now start access by not making affordability be a deterrent to access. And not only to secondary school. The man carried to university. Enough black man couldn't there university. Enough regular poor people could have cut them off a university. Then the man look again and say, a man cannot be independent if he earns nothing. And so therefore, if we want to increase the feeling of being someone in our society, we have to increase improve the environment around the people. And one way to improve the environment was to pay the same people to go about cleaning up them environment. And that's how you get crash program. Now, even in today's day, for political patronage, enough people are go out there with unplanned bushing program. Andrew Holness himself put 60 million or 60 how much million in a bushing. I remember 600 million I think it was in a bushing. When me say after this bushing, nobody know escape in the bushes after this 600 million. But he never did it in a structured way. He never identified people and tried to make them independent. He did it in a method to win an election, a political strategy. Michael Manley said, yo, we're not trying to give you free, because if we give you free, you're a dependent. We are going to make you earn it by increasing and improving your environs, by extension, increasing and improving the nation. And from improving the nation, you then now become interdependent, because I can depend on you to carry out your duty, which you're paid for. You get me? So then the man said, yo, okay. You cannot be independent if you don't have the resources necessary to make a profit. The resources that are necessary to make a profit is going to be access to land and capital. And I saw the man come with land for the landless and start to give people land, access to government land lease and all of them something there, so that you can go do farming and all of those things. Now, some people never take advantage of it, but some people did. Some doctors, some lawyers, children of whose children are doctor now and lawyer now, and politician now, where farmers were take advantage. You understand? And the man said, if it is that, because you see the same thing when me or even Andrews say, oh, somebody goat, I figure me my talk, yo. I'm not gonna tell you how much money me I gonna make off a goat this Christmas. Me just I gotta just make it and just cool. You get me? But I'm a goat, me that give independence. Independence which Michael Manley was seeking to give through land lease. So said to a man, say, yo, go and earn your own bread so that you don't have to depend and wait upon the bread, wait upon the crumbs from a man's table. Go and buy your own chicken so you don't have to eat the skin when a man de-skin him chicken. And so therefore, the man come and say, land for the landless, and we are going to focus upon agriculture, because we had the base product, which was land, and we had the natural demand, which was bellies. So if we have land and we have belly, the man said we are going to sustain ourselves. Now the world has changed with globalization, and self-sustenance is no longer part of our reality, right? But at that time, feeding yourself, the man has said, yo, this is important. Me all I want to know. I talk about feeding on yourself. You ridicule goat. Where is the ship where they promised the people to come to Portland? If them did have goat now, them could at least eat it if them can't sell it. A long time me I say farming. And it was being ridiculed now. Everybody coming around after COVID because we're nearly dead for hungry. You understand? So what happened now is that the man comes and say, yo, we're going to deal with the farming, but we're going to make sure that the business have what is the most important thing to any business, a market. And I saw the man come with AMC, a centralized purchasing hub. Now, may I show you how the man was a genius. One of the biggest problems Jamaica have right now with hotels buying from our farms is that we have big hotel and small farm. So there is no match automatically between the hotel and the farm. Because watch me now. The hotel same need 1,001 pound potato. The farm have to go produce 10,000 pound of potato so as to pick out 1,001 pound, one pound potato. The farm basically only make 800 pound of potato, so him can't do that. The hotel would have then faced with the inconvenience of going to 40 farm to try get him 1,000 pound. From them time, the Michael Manley said, no, carry all of the goods we no want to sell, come to this centralized unit, and then now we will then now cause for an amalgamation. You are cause for all little farms to come together and become basically a big farm in its supply. And we have discussed that again 2020 from 1970. The man did have that. So what I basically I said to is that in those times, we recognize as a political party that the system can't lose the fight in a 1 day or 2 day or 3 day. It takes systematic and sustained and prolonged chipping away at the system. Prolonged small fixes, small steps, little gains. So that is why maternity leave pay with pay, fighting the system. Equal pay for women, fighting the system. Land for the landless, fighting the system. Free education, fighting the system. Seeking to change the status quo. Minimum wage, fighting the system. And then based on the trend that he set. Because when I hear, I could have equally say that it was the JLP's campaign against education that is still making the country suffer. Because from Norman Manley time when we come and say education, the JLP campaign to say they have never seen a scholarship, they have only seen a sugar ship. Them say they don't want education, they want selfish. They cannot deny that. And they're still saying that up to today's day. About beautiful speaking and all kind of madness. You understand what I'm saying? I could have said that is the JLP destabilization of Jamaica's economy with the CIA's assistance. Because at the time there was a Cold War for which Jamaica was at the center based on its influence on the Caribbean, for which Russia was promoting the PMP, and for which the United States was promoting the JLP, and they got them as accomplice to destabilization of the Jamaican economy and the Jamaican people. But at the same time, I know that you don't debate a dead man, because he's dead. But we can tell you that there are examples of unjourness embracing the system. Example of unjourness embracing the system is where the state of emergency said that a cook shop have to lock 6 o'clock, but a big restaurant can go till 9. The two of them are sell food, and one have to lock 6 and one could go to 9. The most recent example of unjourness embracing the system is this wickedness that make, when it comes to tourism, we have to balance the health requirement with the economic requirement. But when it comes to entertainment, we have to prioritize the health requirement over the economic requirement. And to this day, we don't have a plan for entertainment. Not for even the reopening, but if it can't reopening, for the sustenance of those who participate. You have no government consideration of a bailout of entertainment if it can't open based on COVID. But there's a bailout of any big business and any big industry. Our next example of the embracing of the system by unjourness is that the JUTC charge the same bus fare as a taxi man, but the JUTC is subsidized $5 billion. You get to me, I say? So I'm not surprised that unjourness is not happy with Michael Manley's performance, because the JLP embrace the system and the PMP fight the system. If the system is a set of interconnected variables, the economy is only one variable. There are many other variables. And if we don't get economic inclusion, So them look a fool putting some words together about the fourth revolution and the third revolution and Singapore, and none of that don't make no sense. And anybody who do any reading will know say it don't make no sense. Is there a new wave of how business is being done? Yes. Is it important that Jamaica be on that wave? Yes. How is it going to happen if some kids right now cannot access education because it is online and them now have no internet? How them are going to access that wave? That's embracing the system. So when you talk about, oh, because we went to an ideological thing, Singapore not even have election. Should we have gone Singapore way and have one leader? You know how Singapore get where they got? Is that PMP a promote even now to say that we want to be a logistic hub because Singapore earned their living from being that type of logistics center? So may I beg on the people, because I can't say the man have pretty words, because he's not the most eloquent person I've heard. But don't vex over what is normal and natural. The PMP is supported by people who wanted to organize a country that was different from what we had inherited. And the JLP is supported by people who wanted to maintain that country that was prejudiced in class, in color, in race, and in every other aspect of life. And so Andrew Holness is just bitter because he sees that Michael Manley's effort was against the system that he seeks to embrace. Respect.